Patrick, good to see you here.
Yeah,
the
likewise.
Big topic at the moment seems to be the EBA report. Is that the main thing on your mind, or have you got other considerations you're worrying about?
Well, let's say we're all eagerly waiting for that report, and we keep waiting for it. But we have an idea of what's coming. Let's put it this way. I think my reading, trying to think big picture in some ways, per se, the covered bond market is working well and is serving a very, very relevant topic and need when it comes to housing and mortgage finance. Checkbox. Then there's a couple of technicalities that we want to address, and we want to address probably in the bigger picture of how is the world changing. Reciprocity is one of those. Third, country equivalent. Yes, let's make sure we get that right, and we don't fall into the trap of what Trump is doing. We're saying, you know what, I buy if you buy, and then we try to optimize. Let's say the equilibrium or the balance of trade rather than trying to increase the size of the overall cake.
Yeah.
That is relevant. And again, a few technicalities adding to this that I consider more of a technical issue. Then again, you can do wrong with technicalities. So let's make sure that we don't address needs that aren't really there. Extendable maturities, looking at the EBA vibes we got, to me is bigger of a topic than it actually is in markets.
For markets, no, but then nothing's going wrong at the moment. The market is basically quite good, quite robust.
Yes.
We had the investor survey, I don't know if you saw that, the ECBC investor survey, which said that credit concerns aren't such a big problem. But if they become a problem, then maybe we need to worry a bit more about the technicalities.
That is true. You get those calls from investors normally when things start getting wrong, like saying, hey, can you explain to me where do I find data on the cover pool? How does it work in the case of a default? What's actually triggering a default?
Exactly,
I would agree. But in a broader scope of things, there is other priorities. And I will just add two. I think we have a mountain of government debt out there that is posing a bit of a threat to capital markets, and all of that paper will have to be absorbed. And I think covered bonds offer a safe haven very clearly here, and I would expect that to be resilient also. The other priority that we have to address is defense. And we have to make sure that, we address defense properly, but also that we make sure that defense is not biting into housing, because those are two very, you could say, different priorities, but very relevant. And I think we have to look at it in terms of additionality. So things need to be done in terms of defense, but I think also the covered bond market can serve certain infrastructure needs that are related to defense. And again, we'll have tons of things to do. The financing gap in defense is 1.9 trillion. That is 2/3 of the outstanding covered bonds. That is a lot.
Per year. Yeah, that's per year, right? Compared to the NATO targets.
It's a little bit more long term, but basically we have to make sure that we can accommodate.
Yeah.
And I think I would not want to see defense biting into housing. I want the two to coexist and to support each other where possible. And I want it quick. Because that's when it comes to defense and also housing affordability crisis, priority is clearly to get going. So, vamos, in other words.
So you see, being about the infrastructure, the critical infrastructure, also, SMEs active in the defence sector.
Yes, absolutely.
So the ESN idea revived.
The ESN idea is an option on the table, and I think that is what the EBA probably got right at the margin, to leave it on the table. They maybe didn't give quite the type of push we would have maybe hoped for, but it's good in circumstances like this to leave options on the table. And I think if you look at defense and supply chains in defense, there's a lot of parties involved, and you have to make sure that also the smaller parts or the smaller chains of that value chain basically do have access to funding and can build capacity, because we all know any chain is just as strong as the weakest link.
Yeah, I think Lars Overby from the EBA made it very clear about ESNs, this concept of funding SMEs. It's up for us to invent a product. He's not going to regulate something that doesn't exist. So onus is on us.
You're right. Again, my conclusion is let's not take, options off the table. But I think if you look at the mechanics of supply chains in defense, again, a lot of smaller companies
Yes.
that are just as strong as their respective balance sheet. And that's sometimes not enough, because if you want to build capacity in defense, you have to have some kind of guarantees and contracts in hands, and they just take too long in terms of procurement. So, finding ways to address SME needs, first of all, identify those bottlenecks. I think when it comes to speeding up procurement will be absolutely key, and I still believe ESN has a role to play.
As you're now the deputy chairman of the ECBC elect, presume this is going to set the agenda for the next couple of years.
Yes. Well, I think we have to be realistic about defense being part of, our policy priorities. We have to learn the lessons of history, and we have to refresh some of those lessons of history. But I think this is at best an opportunity for Europe. So let's make sure we can address this, and at the same time protect the other very relevant policy priorities. And again, first and foremostly, housing and mortgage finance in Spain, coming back here from the ECBC 10 years after last time, where a lot of things have improved. The housing market, unfortunately, not. And that is something we have to be mindful of.
Got a big agenda. Congratulations on the election to that role. Thanks for speaking to us today.
It was great talking to you, Richard, as usual. Thank you.